Police releasing dramatic video capturing the moment officers responded to that Nashville blast. It shows the moments officers cleared the scene before that RV filled with explosives blew up. The Metro Nashville Police Department also releasing this video. An officer walks down the block just seconds before the blast. We're joined now by Congressman Tim Burchett of Texas. And Congressman, thanks for coming on the show. You know,
It's actually Tennessee, ma'am. There wouldn't be a Texas if it wasn't for Tennessee.
You know what?
Alamo.
I grew up near Bristol, Tennessee, so
right.
I feel like I'm a Tennessean too. I apologize for that.
Yes, ma'am.
So we just saw that video. It was a Christmas Day bombing. The suspect is dead. 8 people were injured, and more than 40 buildings were damaged. You praise the Nashville PD for their response. You know, we see something like this, and we hear these cries from the left saying defund the police, give the money elsewhere. But is this really the time to start defunding the police?
No, ma'am. Actually, it's not. You know, Nashville is really the epicenter of wokeness in our state. It's a virtual wokotopia almost of liberal mindset, and it's definitely not time to defund the police. 57 families, those brave, courageous police officers, men and women. One of them actually graduated from Hardin Valley Academy here in Knoxville, so I'm very proud of that. One of the rookies did, and you know, and the thing was, they weren't going out trying to be heroes; they were just trying to do their job. In this country, we tend to put the label of heroes on somebody who can throw a football or you know, shoot a basket or throw a fastball or whatever, and those people aren't heroes. They're mostly, a lot of them are good. Some of them are good folks, but a lot of them are spoiled brats, and they're not really role models. These folks are role models. They, every day of their life, every time they put that badge on and they put that firearm on, they know they could be called to give the ultimate sacrifice, and they did that without question. And I think it's exemplary of our fine law enforcement in this country. We've got a great group in this state, the TBI, Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. The guy that heads that up, Dave Roush, he's a fine fellow. He was a police chief here in Knoxville. So I'm very familiar, and I spent 16 years in the state legislature in Nashville, so I've walked down that street many times. So, no, it's not the time to do that. This
explosion could have been a mass casualty incident had the police not responded in the way that they did. You know, explain what these officers did to save so many lives in that part of the city.
They got a call. They got a call that there was something going on, and then they were alerted to it. And then, from what I understood, they started knocking on doors, waking people up, and getting them out of their dadgum residences there, their condos and apartments and things like that. And of course, if you've ever been down there, it's tall buildings, and as you can see in the explosion,
it's usually very crowded.
Explosion to go. And two, you have to realize if somebody's willing to lose their life to take you out. My dad fought in the Second World War in the Marine Corps in the Pacific, fought the Japanese, and he told me many times, said, Timmy, he said, some guy wants to take you out and doesn't mind losing your life. There's not a whole lot you can do about it. But you know, dadgummit, the police did something about it. They went and risked their lives and you know, and of course there was a countdown. I mean, it's like something out of a James Bond movie or something, but
it really
you got to take that stuff serious.
So,
yes, ma'am.
Do they have adequate funding in Nashville, though? Has there been an attack?
I don't know if you ever have adequate. You know, when I was mayor of the county of Knox County, we fully funded our law enforcement. We were able to give them pay raises. That was because we had a great group of people. But we also implemented a program for the mentally ill that they were not clogging up our court systems. When you see somebody has voices in their head, and 1 in 3. And
that's been a lot of what people talked about as well. And I do want to get to this because, you know, in New York City, where we are, you're really starting to see the impact of this defund the police movement. So let's take a look at what happened here in New York yesterday, right here in broad daylight. Mob surrounding a BMW on 5th Avenue and 21st Street in Manhattan. You know, it's usually a place where people go shopping, smashing bicycles into the windshield, jumping on top. People have said these random violent attacks are becoming all too common in New York City. What does New York need to do, Congressman?
Well, they need to let their policemen and their police officers do their jobs. You know, when I left the White House, after one night of the convention, and the mob
yeah.
was out there. The Black Lives Matters and all those thugs were out there spitting in people's faces. You saw Rand Paul get attacked. I was right behind Senator Paul, and they sent us out the other way. You know, these people, they're criminals, and they need to be arrested. We need to allow our law enforcement to do their job, and we're not doing that. And especially in New York, I mean, it's out of control. And I'll tell you this: the morale of the Washington D.C. police force, I would say, is at an all-time low because they don't have the backing. I remember they
I
told
would have
us
to agree with you. Yeah, I definitely have to agree with you on
between
that.
Between the corners, and we're United States Congresspeople and senators, and we did not have any protection. I was with Congressman Mark Green out of Middle Tennessee, and he's a former Special Forces. I felt pretty safe with him, but I felt a little worried about all those little ladies that were getting yelled at.
You know what? I was actually there. I walked out too, and I was walked out by Secret Service, so I know exactly what you're talking about. Congressman Burchett from Tennessee. Thank you. Would love to have you on the show again. Great to see you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks for having me.
President Trump carried many Republicans